Welcome back. We did not manage to have a look at the stocks of the day and how they performed. And so we want to just give you a brief of how the market performed. And here it is. The gainers of the day were East African Portland Cement that increased 9.42% in value to close at 7 shillings 20. Kakuzi had a lovely day at the market, closed at 419 shillings. That's 8.83% upwards. Samia Africa closed at 2.65 shillings, which is 4.33% upwards. Crown Paints closed at 33.50, which is 3 shillings and 8 cents upwards. Equity Bank closed at 51.25, which is 1.99% upwards. The losers of the day, yes, TransCentury was the biggest loser at 9.52% downwards, closing the day at 1 shilling 33 cents. Umeme closed the day at 6 shillings 10 cents, being 6.15% downwards. Olympia Capital Holdings closed the day 3.63% downwards to land at 1.86 shillings. TPS East African Serena closed the day at 14 shillings, which is negative 3.45%. Canned General closed the day at 70 shillings 25 cents. It looks like finally the supply has outstripped demand for Canned General. They were flying high earlier in the week. Well, we are back into the conversation. Sorry, I think before that we can look at the movers of the day by volume. It is your regular big boy. Safaricom led the pack with 3.1 million shares traded. KCB followed suit with 2.4 million shares traded. Equity Bank traded 1.5 million shares. Kenya Power and Lighting is making headlines as well. It was in the top charts yesterday. It's still in the top charts today. Closed at 540,000 shares traded, and there is a new entrant into the team. Nairobi Business Ventures traded 357 shares, which is interesting because we haven't seen such volumes from them in the latest news we've received. We're back in the conversation, and thank you very much for being with us, Effie. We want to take the conversation to Centum Re and some of the corporate announcements. Centum Real Estate is listing, targeting around 17 billion shillings out of the market. What are your expectations?
Whatever Centum is trying to do is to reduce its exposure to real estate because from what we are seeing from the financial statements that they provided, they recorded declines in revenues for the real estate arm of it. Centum by itself is has a lot of portfolios or areas where it has invested in. So its aim is to reduce its exposure to real estate while focusing on other arms or areas of investments that it has.
Okay. And this is now the strategy of them going into the market?
Yeah, this is their strategy. They announced that they had an equity investor coming into place. I think it's a Luxembourg investor who will invest in form of equity. Yeah. Their aim is to reduce their...
The investor is going for the mother company Centum, or it's going for Centum Real Estate?
They are going for the real estate arm of Centum. The aim, part of the reason why Centum is focusing on investing into or going into the equity bit of real estate is to, number one, restructure its portfolio. As I've mentioned, they've invested into various areas, but currently they have a target of 55%, I'd say, for their real estate, but they have gone beyond the 55. So it's just a strategy they're using to rebalance their portfolio. They're also working on raising capital just to continue financing their existing real estate projects. They still have some projects that are ongoing, and then they are also looking into now doing the capital restructuring, moving from debt and restructuring to equity.
Yeah. Do you think the market will be receptive of Cytonn real estate?
I believe with the best strategy, they will be receptive to Cytonn real estate because they've been performing well, and part of the condition for getting into their new incoming investor is for them to list to get listed. So I think if they continue or have the best strategy for real estate, then why not? I think the market will still accept them as Cytonn real estate.
This is an IPO of sorts, right?
Yes.
You think the market is ready for an IPO? I mean, we've recovered from the pandemic and we're good because we didn't have any IPOs last year. Are we ready?
Yes, we are. I think it's when something comes into the market, we take it, first of all, it's more of learning how it will affect the market, or it will go or play around into the market. So I believe that people will accept it, and the performance per se, if well structured, since real estate continues to perform well and still has some pockets of value, not all is lost, and they still hope for the real estate sector as we're witnessing the recovery of the sector. So in my opinion, I think people will give into this change positively.
Okay. This is the same, so now Cytonn Real Estate will be the holding company for the likes of Two Rivers, the Vipingo project that they have, and all the other real estate projects that they have.
Yes.
Now, that is attractive. Fair enough. They are selling their stake at Two Rivers. And I was really surprised because, well, I come from the background where if you have a good real estate investment, you don't want to let it go. Is it still the same strategy of lowering their exposure to real estate?
Number one, it's more of a restructuring that they are doing, just restructuring from, you see, with the pandemic, we are not converting real estate projects into sales. So for the Two Rivers, I don't know the current situation, but I assume that they have not been generating as much revenues as they have been getting just because of now the general effects of the pandemic. So we expect, I assume, probably repaying of the rent, the debt that they've been having, because Two Rivers by itself was mainly financed by debt, and that is why the firm is particularly focused on now rebalancing their portfolio to reduce the exposure to debt, going to equity, which to me is a safer option with the current market, restructuring from debt to equity.
Should we foresee Cytonn going into the market anytime soon?
That one I wouldn't say that form of restructuring. What we are restructuring, it's more of conversions and trying to reduce our debt exposure. Okay.
Northlands project. We are having the Northlands City in Ruiru on an 11,000 acre piece of land. I thought this is quite an investment. They require 500 billion shillings to take it off. Your thoughts on this? How will this even happen? 500 billion shillings?
Yes, that's a concept on its own. The project by itself, to me, is can be actualized with the right financial plan or strategy in mind. A project of such magnitude is not likely to take just we are not likely to see it taking shape in the next, I'd say, 2 or 3 years, because look at the example of Tatu City, still a master planned project. Activities are going, but in different phases or taking shape in different ways. So financing of the project probably will be actualized because number one, they might decide to go the joint venture way, or even just get a financer, for example, just an investor interested in the project. For example, now the Northlands we are talking about, they might also decide to get debt, develop part of the development, and then once it's done, they will now start getting the income which will help in finishing the project. We call it more off-plan sales. So there are various avenues. I think the project will be realized, but not now. We give it time, but I know there's hope for the project.
When you say time, you mean a year, 2 years, 10 years?
A year is it's so small, or just very little time for such a project to be actualized. Even Tatu City, when did we start talking about Tatu City?
Too long ago, actually.
Yeah, it's too long ago.
But you know, Tatu City has also been derailed by a lot of court cases and court battles.
Yes, but not to the extent of halting the project. You see, it's the same thing. We don't expect any miracle to happen for the case of Northlands, apart from having the right financial plan, probably attracting investors into the project, either through getting land buyers to get to buy into the project, or either just institutional investors to buy into the project, or even offering mortgages to investors interested. So you see, if they focus on getting to know what the individuals in the market want, it will be easy for an investor or to be attracted into the project. Just get to have the financial way of getting funds to finish the project.
Would you, sorry, would you take such mortgage?
Of course, before taking such a mortgage, I'll need to look at the terms. If it's favorable, then I would.
I forgot I'm talking to an analyst. You'd even want to analyze that. Let's talk about the railway city proposed by the Kenyan government. 28 billion to be pumped into the project. You know, a new railway station, new housing. I hear they'll have a police station, a barracks. They'll have an industrial park of sorts. Beautiful idea. What do you make of it?
I'd say it's a fantastic idea. The government is coming up with a lot of strategies to enhance home ownership, which I'd say the railway city comes also into it. It's a master planned community, meaning everything will be within that city. Yeah. We'll have roads there, we'll have schools, the industries and everything, which tend to be attractive, because right now what we are seeing is people looking for convenience, place whereby you will get your home is here, where you work is just a stone throw away. So it's a fantastic concept, which I believe will still will shape the real estate sector in a good way.
Yeah.
Yes.
The fact that the government is fully financing it, does it mean then it's locking out potential investors?
I highly doubt if it will lock out potential investors, because the government by itself usually comes with various strategy to get funds from investors. They might decide to float a bond, for example, that is directly engaging individuals or investors into the project, because if I buy into a bond that will directly finance that project, then I'm part of that project per se. They might also decide to provide affordable mortgages, for example, through the KMRC. So if there is affordable mortgages, I take my mortgage, buy into those developments. I'm sure if it's a government strategy and they're pushing towards affordable homes, then definitely we also have affordable homes there. So it's easier for an individual to get into such a project by the government. Yeah. Same thing we are seeing for other affordable housing programs within the country.
Okay. My final question. What impact do you foresee some of these projects having on the economy as it is?
I'm seeing a total change. Let's say in the next 5 or 10 years, how areas are zoned or regulated, there's a total change that we're expecting in the real estate sector. For example, in the past, or what we're witnessing now, is that we have our commercial nodes. We know of Upper Hill for commercial, we know of Mombasa Road for industries, we know of some place like, let's say, Donholm, Kasarani for residential, but we are looking at a situation whereby we are having now all these things in one place. We'll have the industries there, we'll have the residential. So I'm seeing a lot of change happening in how investors strategize their plan. They will now be focusing on master planned communities, mixed use communities, just to bring the convenience aspect of real estate.
Yeah.
Yes.
I saw there are conversations around better cities at the World Economic Forum ongoing, and one of the things they were saying is that such master planned cities manage the environment much better as opposed to these zoned ones. Yes. What are your thoughts?
That is very true. Number one, we move around the city with cars. What's the impact of cars? Carbon emission on the environment, and which definitely affects the weather and the climate in general. And then nowadays, investors or people getting into real estate are focused on ESG, that is the environmental sustainability aspect of master planned community. We have the social aspect of it and the governance bit of real estate. So in general, I see it solving the environmental and the social aspect of the ESG real estate. Yeah.
All right, thank you for coming. Is Cytonn going to release anything for us to buy anytime soon?
But we still have projects ongoing, ready for investors. We have our Alma, which is taking shape and almost to completion.
Fully funded, or you can still accept a few shillings from a few Kenyans?
That one, I'd say it's still more of a conversation that once, if you're interested in it, you just visit Cytonn, and then we can agree on how you'll get into the project. But we still have a lot of live projects ongoing. There are still units in our Alma, and investors are welcome to get into the projects.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us.